and welcome to TheeDigital's Growthcast, where we explore the latest in web design, digital marketing, and business growth strategies. I'm Shannon Kelly, Corporate Marketing Manager here at TheeDigital, an award-winning web design and digital marketing agency based in Raleigh, North Carolina. Joining us today in the studio, we have Grayson Fesperman, our digital sales director here at TheeDigital. We also have Garrett Johnson, one of our talented project managers who helps create, design, and develop WordPress websites for our clients. And we also have with us today Jordan Rash, the marketing manager at Epic Hot Tubs, our sister company. Grayson, Jordan, Garrett, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming, guys. So we're just going to delve right into all things AI. Some things that we're going to talk about. How are you saving time or solving your headaches with AI? How should business owners invest in these tools themselves versus when they need to lean on an agency? And how do these tools help you actively get points on the board and save money in real life? So those are just some of the things we'll talk about. So let's get into it. But before we get deeper into tools specifically, let's take a step back quick. What did you first start incorporating AI into your workflow? And what was your initial reaction or hesitation towards AI? And I guess let's start with Jordan.
Yeah, I think I started using AI pretty early on. I think it was called Jasper was the first tool we used. And it was kind of just content writing. I guess in the beginning, you could tell that things were AI written. And when I was using it, I remember I used it for like a few weeks. I just didn't like the quality of it. And so I would write my own content again, or I'd have to modify it heavily. So I was kind of worried with AI. I was like, oh, it's just going to take over. It's just going to change content and stuff like that. But I think it's gotten to a point now where you can use it for a lot more than just content. And it's also a lot higher quality content, research and stuff like that. And so I think it's just developed over time to be a lot more useful. And in the beginning, it seemed scary almost to use AI on your website because it just wasn't good enough quality.
I also can relate to the being afraid, is this kind of gonna take over my job? I don't really not wanting to lean into it. But that's the way the future is going. So we have to utilize our tools.
And then I was thinking, even from a sales perspective, being and working with digital, it almost kind of seemed like, oh my gosh, another tool that we're going to have to learn and use. And then little did we know, we're cutting, time and cutting costs. So yeah, I can definitely relate to that.
Agreed. What about you, Garrett? When did you first start incorporating AI, and what was your initial thoughts around it or hesitations?
Yeah, when I first initially got into it, just like Jordan said, was Jasper. That one seemed to be the more marketing tool that was being pushed when it first came out. Aside from ChatGPT itself, I really just used it for content writing. But like Jordan said, it was definitely AI written. The quality wasn't quite there, so I used it more of an intro, sort of a starting point, kind of speed up the thought process, and then dive in and make it a little bit better. And it's come a long way over the last few years. So as we dive deeper into that, we'll explore a couple more options that I used on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, it seems like it's growing at an exponential rate, and there's always a new tool and always something new to learn around AI. So I guess along with that, so outside of that initial hesitation, now you're using AI regularly. So what types of tools are you using regularly, and what types of tools are you implementing in your daily workflow? And whoever wants to answer first, go on ahead.
Well, yeah, I'll kind of take a step back. I think what my opinion changed about AI, like kind of how we got here to where I'm using it every day. Because at first I was scared. I didn't think it was quality. I thought, it's better if I do this manually, that type of thing. But the way I started using it, and for specific tools, mainly I just use Grok or ChatGPT, anything like that. I don't use a lot of specific AI tools, other than the AIs themselves. But the way that they help me is they help me improve the quality of my content. So a lot of times what I'm doing is I'm taking, let's take copywriting, for example. I'll have a blog or something like that on the website that I want to improve. I'll take human written content that our expert content writers have written, and I'll throw that into AI, and I'll, get a summary of it, and I'll have it um, present suggestions. Like, give me your top 10 suggestions to improve this blog. I want to improve um, I want to answer user intent. So I want this blog to answer whatever the user is Googling, right? Whatever question they want answered, I want it answered as best possible. How can we improve that? And it'll give me suggestions. It might suggest like a new table or something like that. And for me to add like an HTML table to the blog might take a little bit of time, but instead I'll use AI to do that. And it might say, hey, it might be better if you move this section a little bit higher here, or this section here. I can even go a step further and have the AI do all of those changes for me. Like, yeah, I approve change 1, 2, 3, and 4. Don't do, 5. It sounds kind of weird. But I'm not taking AI content and putting it on the website. I'm taking human written content and improving it so that when the user clicks that web page, it answers what they're looking for as fast as possible, as clear as possible. And I've had really good success doing that. Google likes that, and I think it's because when users visit our website, they have their questions answered. And so we've ranked higher, we've gotten more clicks and stuff like that. And so I think that's what's changed my mind. I think it's kind of a myth when it comes to AI that it'll lower your content quality, but if you're using it right, it'll raise your content quality.
Yeah, that's actually a common thing that I've heard too, that people are afraid that using AI, you're gonna get penalty on your website, you're gonna reduce the quality of your content, it's not gonna rank as well. And so you're kind of saying that's not really the case if you do it the right way and you kind of marry the two with human oversight and also using the AI to supplement.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah. And just to piggyback off of that, because, when I'm speaking with business owners or organizations or members of larger organizations, they are often asking, they're doing a comparison. Well, they are utilizing AI to produce blogs and resources and all of these things and stuff like that. So, there are agencies out there that are primarily relying on AI to be able to sell more projects and push more content to be able to rank. But really that's not the where the gold is in the solution, right? It's being able to utilize the tool to improve the human content, like you said, Jordan, that's going to get you a more relevant result.
Yeah, exactly.
What about you, Garrett? How do you see yourself using AI now as compared to when you first approached it? And what types of ways are you implementing it in your daily workflow?
Yeah, I mean, as a project manager, is in a hybrid role, we're doing a lot of the work ourselves with our projects. Optimizations. The cool thing about AI now is Claude particularly allows us to give context, give information to it on top of what it already does to provide us the output that we're looking for. So let's say we are looking for a specific written H1 or SEO title or description. I can say, please follow these guidelines. Like we use Rank Math as our plugin for our websites for our SEO stuff. And they have their own kind of guidelines to follow and their own tools, and they have their own AI tool in there. But I'll go into Rank Math, I'll pull all their guidelines, I'll create a project inside Claude, give it context, and say, please create an SEO title that's 60 characters, no more than 60 characters long. Make sure to use a power word out of a long list of words that Rank Math has provided. And then I can say, I'll give it a list of the 20 pages that we have, and I'll say, hey, please give me an SEO title and description for these 20 pages based off of the page title following Rank Math's guidelines. So now it spits that out, and now I have 20 optimized titles and descriptions following Rank Math's recommendations. And then it also uses, Claude now has the ability to search the web. So it on top of that, then sort of cross-references some of the top performing things on the web to still give you the best options out there. So I use it, for quick optimizations to better give the client a fuller service to their content if it's not necessarily in the proposal or the contract itself. I also use it to spruce up some page content that we may be working with that needs a little TLC. So I'll take that, throw it in there. Please optimize this content for 300 words, or whatever the parameters that we want for it, and we'll just kind of copy paste that, make some adjustments as needed. Again, AI is always evolving. It's a lot more human like now. Sometimes you can't even tell the difference, but it's always nice to put your own touch and maybe your own words aside from what an AI adjective might be being used.
Do you feel like the more detailed you are in your like written response or request, the better the outcome? Or do you feel like the more general you are, the more options you get?
It Yeah, so that it depends on what you're trying to accomplish in your response. So if the more detailed I get, uh, the better response I'm getting of what I'm looking for. If I'm looking for a general response in maybe 10 different variations, I'll be more general with it to get those more general responses. But the more you kind of go down the list, it says, okay, now I can eliminate these five. Now I'm left with five. I can be more detailed on those five, and then it'll spit out, you know, at the end of the prompt, it'll give me more of what I'm looking for. And sometimes it just does. Sometimes it won't work. Sometimes I have to scratch it completely and start over and rethink on how to approach and talk to it. Uh, that's what I use it for content on a daily basis. I've started using it for, commerce and spreadsheets. So I'll take a spreadsheet, throw it in there, and say analyze the data, and then I'll use that to again either reorganize it, optimize it. It's a great way to get, um, again, product titles, attributes, descriptions. Like, say you want to create some attributes for a product that you don't have, but you have a really nice description. I can say, hey, please analyze this description and create some attributes and bullet points, things that we can build product specs for product pages themselves. Um, and it's a great way to extract. It's also a great way to extract information from a web page too. You can give AI a URL, scan it, and say, please, extract all the H1s, H2s, and remove everything else. A great way to get your basic semantic content. And this is really if you're trying to, rebuild a web page from a page builder to a block-based builder, or you really just want that information for a Google Doc or a Word doc, without all the code and the jargon that isn't needed.
So, question for both of you guys, and whoever wants to jump in first. Often when I'm speaking with people, they're already utilized of AI technology, whether it's in their marketing strategy, or they are using AI to build a website. What would you say are the pros and cons of solely relying on AI to do both of those things? So, either from a marketing or a digital presence like your website.
I would say, the cons are you get something that's similar and the same thing as everybody else that's doing the same thing. I would approach it with, asking, how they're using AI, what's their process for it, and then offering them maybe a better solution, or maybe some options on how they can be better using it.
Um, so, like a business owner that's using AI, they can get more done than they would have before AI existed, right? But the quality won't be there um, if the time isn't invested. So, the amount of time you'd have to invest to get a high quality website, high quality social posts, everything, um, you'd have to spend hours learning um, the ins and outs of whatever website you're building, um, SEO, social media, and AI. I know, for instance, I have a blog prompt for updating the blogs as I was discussing earlier. Um, that prompt is over a page long and took me weeks to perfect. And when I'm writing these prompts, um, I'll get an output that I don't like. And so I'll redo the prompt and say, hey, don't do this or do it in this way. And everything that I don't like, I can modify, but I'm kind of a trained eye. I can notice those things that are wrong, that are going to hurt my website ranking, that sound like AI. I think that's the advantage of working with like Jasper when it first came out. It's like I can notice things that aren't right. Um, and so I'm able to fix those issues. But if you don't have that trained eye, you won't notice those issues. You won't know those issues that you're making. Um, and like I said, it took me weeks to make that one prompt, and I'll tell you in a year it'll probably be 2 pages. I'll keep getting things I don't like, and I'll keep updating it and fixing it. And so it's really kind of a work in progress, and you have to put a lot of time in. And this is one thing that I guess when I first started working for an agency, because I was kind of self-employed before I did my own marketing. Um, I was like, I don't need an agency. I can do it myself. That was my mentality. And I think that's the mentality of a lot of business owners, especially when they're first starting out. They might not have the budget and stuff like that. But what I realized is at the agency, we have all of the most expensive tools. We have access to all of the data. We have access to Claude. We have ChatGPT. We have Grok, which are Claude's really good at programming. ChatGPT, not so much. And so we have access to all of these tools that cost hundreds, thousands, probably multiple thousands of dollars per month. That if you were to do on your own, you'd have to be paying for all of that, or at least a pretty large portion of it, and you wouldn't be an expert. The benefit of working with an agency or TheeDigital is we have all of those tools and we're experts at using them. And so a lot of times you can actually save money, and you can go look at the prices of some of these tools and Hrefs and stuff like that that we're using, and it's not cheap. So I think that's a huge benefit of getting an agency to work for you.
And then, to add to that, the big question is why do you want an agency, right? Like, you're the business owner, you need to run the business. The agency helps you run the business digitally, or whatever that agency there is for specific. It allows you to do your day-to-day operations at the business itself and what the core of your business is. Where we are doing the marketing, we're focusing on so that you're not having your hand in a little bit of everything to a point where it's not as efficient as having someone who is an expert dedicated to it and focusing on it. That gives you more time back in your day.
Yeah, that's that's a really big, like, ROI because, to your point that you guys mentioned earlier, business owners feel like they might be cutting cost by using these tools instead of working with an agency. But, what we've heard from our clients that have transitioned from doing that to working with us is that, one, it's less expensive than paying for the tools. And then also it's almost having a second full-time job trying to learn these tools and figuring out how to really customize them and what's the best way to use them for your business versus hiring an expert who's already an expert. So, therefore, saving you that time and money so you can focus on ramping up your business.
Percent. I mean, with that in mind, then, when do business owners kind of know, or when should they start to transition or think about leaning on an agency instead of, DIYing it, I guess? What point would you say, okay, now it's about time that you should invest in a team?
Well, I think it's different for every business. They kind of have to feel that out on their own. But in general, whenever they're not able to focus on their day-to-day operations because they're trying to, uh, keep up pace with their competition. So if they're getting beat by their competition, they're not, ranking even on the first page on Google or something like that, despite putting in lots of hours into the marketing themselves. And maybe other areas of the business are hurting. I think that's when you've got to consider it.
Yeah, or when you say you try taking it on yourself and you get to a point where you're just pulling your hair out and you're like, it's time. I need help. Like I think it's kind of sometimes it's an epiphany. You kind of just realize I'm done. It's time to just ask for help. I tried doing it myself. It's time to just get that expert, get that more professional advice, and then in the long run, you'll thank yourself. Usually, when it comes to maybe paying a little extra for an agency, but you'll look back on the progress that you'll make with someone versus without someone.
Yeah. And then just to piggyback on that, on the sales side, if your website is not generating leads, is your sales team complaining about the lack of leads or the quality of the leads? Um, are they excited to show your website and pass out their business card, or has the website not been updated in a few years? And there's not really anything that truly showcases the growth in that company today. Your sales team is a big indicator. How excited are they to showcase the Google reviews, say, hey, I'm proud to work at this company. We've been in business, say TheeDigital, for 21 years. We're the highest rated Google agency in North Carolina. Look at our website, look at our clients.
100%. I guess along with that as well. So we've been talking about the positive aspects of AI, but there's some negatives as well. It's not all blue skies when it comes to AI. And so in that frame of mind, has there ever been a time where AI didn't help you or maybe even made things a little worse for you? Like what are some of the limitations you've noticed or like common pitfalls that you've seen that business owners and businesses in general should look out for?
I would say, me personally, I think I don't want to say AI has ever made anything worse for me. I think the only thing that the negative that I get out of it is maybe the amount of time spent on trying to do something that might be out of its limitations or something that's maybe beyond my expertise in it. Maybe it's something newer, maybe it's a feature that they rolled out. Because again, it's always evolving. So, a month from now, what I tried doing, a month previous, I may be able to jump right into it, be able to do it. But, a month ago, I wasted 20 hours trying to do this and I didn't get a solution out of it. That would be probably the biggest, downfall that I've had an experience with AI.
It could definitely be a time drain. Sorry, go ahead, Jordan.
Yeah, I think it can be a time drain. I think maybe the better way to put that is it's a over reliance on AI, and I think maybe business owners or marketing specialists, whoever you are, you can kind of maybe use AI too much. You're leaning on it too much. You're responding to your emails with AI now and stuff like that. Everything you do, you're putting through AI, and I'm a little guilty of that. Maybe it loses the human touch still. So I think that's pretty much the biggest negative for me is over reliance, and I use it in my personal life all the time, like researching and but it's crazy. I was researching like how to buy a car and like what car I should buy, and I was just getting ChatGPT to organize all the information for me. So I don't know.
Yeah, I
Could
do that too. I've done the exact same thing. I think it's great. I think, AI is great for learning. I think it is phenomenal when it comes to asking questions, gathering information, and giving you the highlights versus wasting time trying to find it on a full page filled with a whole bunch of stuff that you just don't want. I think that's a great piece to it. But again, like Jordan was saying, over relying on it, I think can maybe drain the depth of how involved you are with something. So, if you're going through the routine, you use it, you copy, you paste, you throw it over here, and then someone asks you a question, you're like, oh, wait a second. I just automated everything. I don't even know sometimes you don't even know how deep the context might go when you need to answer the question that someone asked. So you truly should treat it as a third arm or an extension versus, a whole completely separate entity that's doing your job.
Oh,
Yeah,
that
and I
was
think that's like a hard thing. It's kind of like with your cell phones or social media, like knowing when to put it down, because it's such a useful tool. So it's kind of once you start using it, it becomes a default in your mind. It's like, oh, I can just use ChatGPT to do this. And it doesn't always save you time. It's not always the best option for what the scenario you're approaching. So that's a great point. It's like kind of still use it in moderation and be sure you're using it for the right reasons and the right times. Um,
Is there anything that you guys like, even if it's a fun fact or anything you want to throw out that you think is valuable about AI?
like maybe like the future of AI. It's kind of current, but also the future. Where like I don't know the best way to put this. I guess a good example is there's tools that exist like Make or Zapier that are these automation workflows that you can create. You can plug them into your CRM and stuff like that. I think like implementing AI as a step within these workflows um, is kind of the future of where a lot of marketing is going. Um, I, a good example of that is maybe social media posts and stuff like that. Actually, I have a better example. We had um, leads that were coming in from a manufacturer for our hot tub company, and they were being sent to email, and our sales team was manually adding them to the CRM. But I was able to create an automation with ChatGPT in the middle. ChatGPT would read those emails, output the contact data into a format that I could import directly into HubSpot. And so now the leads are being automatically added to HubSpot from our email, and it's saving our sales team a lot of time. So like workflows like that, I know that one's hyper specific, but there's more generic workflows, things that people do every day that can be automated with systems like that. I think using AI to create tools is another good example. And I know I just shared a tool that I made using Grok. We do a lot of image optimization before we upload images to client websites, and that can be a time-consuming thing. We want to add the correct metadata, make sure it has the business name, has a good title. We want to make sure it's not going to slow down the website, so we want to optimize it to WebP and all of these things, and that can be multiple tools to get that final image that you're ready to upload to the website. But using AI like Grok, you can make a small little tool. It's simple, and it'll optimize images in bulk or however you want to do it. And I made it specifically for my workflow. So there's other tools that do this that exist. I'm not ignorant to that, but this is a tool that's the fastest way to do it for my workflow and the way that I do it. So it's kind of interesting. I created that in a couple hours with a few prompts and trial and error, and now it's a tool I use almost every day. So using AI to make your own tools, I think, is, the future.
Yeah, that's interesting. It's like a deeper level of personalization with AI is going to be the future, essentially. Yeah, that's awesome. What do you think, Garrett?
Like Jordan said, I use Claude for some programming things to develop small, simple plugins that we can use internally, so we don't have to necessarily use another authored or repository plugin that may break in the future based off of a small update they may do. That way, it's there. And again, these ones are much more lighter. A lot of free options out there do more than it's needed. So I use it to create much more simple options that are less prone to break long term. And but yeah, I think app building program tools with AI is going to be probably the next big phase. You know, in the coming months when it comes to AI. I've already seen all kinds of ads on Instagram about I just made 6 apps, using AI. So and keep in mind, I'm sure those are relatively straightforward apps, but we've all looked, how to easily convert something, drag and drop. Somebody that made a web-based app that we use, we'll be able to maybe do that ourselves with AI and create a program for our desktop or our own computer or our own web-based app and not rely on somebody else's tool that we're not really familiar with.
Barrier of entry for people too, as far as like programming and adding things to their site. It will be interesting in the future to see how people adapt to that. We hope this conversation gave you some actionable insights on how to maximize AI for your business, whether it's streamlining your marketing or optimizing your sales process or helping you update your website or analytics. A huge thank you to Jordan and Garrett today for joining us. And thank you to our listeners for tuning in. We love talking about the latest strategies and tools to help businesses grow in digital marketing. Be sure to check out our latest videos on YouTube. We touch on a lot of things AI and the future of search, and sign up for our next training event on June 19th. Thanks.
Thanks, everyone.